All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the live webinar with Verken. Yes, so this evening we just want to discuss something that's very important in data analysis in general, and then even in general work. That's Excel pivot tables and then dashboards. All right. So I would like to welcome each and every one of you. Thanks for joining. And a few ground rules. If you want to ask any question at the time I'm presenting, feel free to post the question in the Q&A session or in the chat box on Teams. My name is Isaac Sumwa. So a little background about me. I'm a pharmacist by training, all right, and I've worked in roles like warehouse management, retail management, business development, supply chain, a few roles here and there, all right. So, and in each of these roles, I've used Excel, and so for me, I don't see Excel as a tool for data analysts. Far from that. My mentality about Excel is very different. It's for everyday. It's for the everyday person. All right. Whichever industry you find yourself, whether you are an HR, you are a front desk person, you are a church admin, wherever you find yourself, I think Excel will just make your work a lot easier. And one of the things that stood out to me at the time when I was doing my very first job was I had about 50 facilities that we needed to pick products for. After all, it's a warehouse, so we're supplying our retail shops, and we had this task of collecting all the requests from the various shops and then supplying them. So we take the request somewhere on Monday, and to compile all of them, tease out the ones we have, we don't have, all of those things. That took me about 4 days. All right, minimum 3 days, but averagely it took about 4 days, and I thought that was a lot of work. So I started doing some research, and I realized that okay, Excel could help me do this task, and I was able to learn VBA for Excel. So VBA is a language in Excel. It's called Visual Basic for Application. And with that, I was able to minimize that 4-day work into just 10 minutes. And I'm not exaggerating, like 10 minutes. So it would consolidate all the requests. It would even print out the list. All right. And for me, that freed me a lot of time. So I know what Excel can do. So I'm not looking at Excel as a tool for everyday analysts. No, I'm looking at Excel for the average person, and that's why I'm organizing this webinar. I have over 7 years of experience actively using Excel, and also over 4 years of experience teaching Excel in various capacities. So on to the agenda for the week. Sorry, I teach a lot, so that's why. So the agenda for this evening, we'll be looking at pivot tables and how it helps us to summarize data a lot faster. All right. Now, when I mention pivot tables, I'm not saying that we are getting away from formulas. No, far from that. Right? Because even Excel has another formula called pivot by. All right. That acts like the formula version for pivot tables. All right. So I don't think that formulas in themselves are going away. Pivot tables have their own limitations, but then I think it's a very useful tool that helps us summarize data a lot faster. So I'll show you what we are going to be building this evening. So let me just give you a sneak peek into that. Where my okay, so I hope you all can see my screen. I'm sharing an Excel page. Sawaka, can you confirm that for me?
No, we can't see it yet.
You can see it yet. Okay.
I think someone can.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, we can see now.
You can see now. Okay, great. So when we mentioned Excel dashboards, the foundation of majority of the dashboards that you build is based on pivot tables, and that is what pivot tables look like. All right, it's just small tables. Some can be very large, and this is the foundation for everything that you are seeing on the front end. So in development, normally you would hear something like front end developer, back end developer. So if you take any website, for example, the nice part of the website you see is what we call the front end, and the dirty work behind the scenes, like storing the username, the password, the recapture, all of those information is done by someone who is a back-end developer. So that is the same concept we are using here. All the nice things that you are seeing here is because of what we have on the back end, which is this one. Let me activate my keystroke. 1 second, please. Let's see if it's working. Okay, shortcuts are working, so that's fine. Okay, so that's basically what we are building this evening, this dashboard, and it's highly interactive. All right, so we can easily filter, and everything on the dashboard also filters the total value, the number of orders, all of that, and it's not very complicated. All right, so if you have any question at any point, you can feel free to put it in the chat or alert me, and I'll be grateful. I'll be very happy to assist you with a response. All right, let's see if there's anything else. All right, so looking at our data, I need to bring this here for now. Looking at our data, we have 3 tables. All right, so one is the sales transactions. That's about 31,000 rows of data. That's quite a lot. And then we also have our customers. So customer ID, the gender of the customer, and then their current age. And then the product table has to do with the particular item that the store has, the category of the product, whether it's a blouse, whatever, the currency that it's sold in. All right, so this is the amount. I will change this currency all to Ghana cedis just for our context. All right, so GHC, this is 229, and that's the unit price. So basically, that's the whole table, and this has a lot of information. We may not even need some. All right, but then as we go through, we'll decide what we need and then what we don't need. All right, so we'll attempt to answer. We'll attempt to answer a few questions. All right, one is the total revenue of the store. The other is the total revenue, this time broken down by month, by status, by channel, all of that. And then we see that information in here. After the webinar, I'll share the file I'm using, all right, so that you can also go back, rewatch the video, and then practice. So we have the status here, we have the channel there as well. Then we'll look at the B2B sales versus B2C sales. So if you look at this column right here, that is B2B sales. B2B is basically business to business. All right. So if the customer was a business, then we are selling to a business. If the customer was an individual, then that would be false. All right. So anywhere you see false here, it means that is a B2C, business to customer. If it's true, then that will be business to business. Okay. So just have that in mind and clear this. And then we'll also look at the number of orders by month, the top 10 SKUs or the top 10 products in terms of the revenue. And then we also have the sales by sizes and the sales by gender. So we'll attempt to answer all of these questions using pivot tables. All right, and you see how easy they are. So let's go back to this. I think I would want to switch screens. So give me 1 second to do that. Okay, so bringing it up shortly. Share screen. This. Okay, can you see my screen again? Sarah, can you confirm if my screen is visible?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, good. All right, so we are taking the very first question. Okay, which is I think I should bring this one here too. which is the total revenue. Okay, so let's start from that. So looking at this table, if we want to calculate total revenue, for example, it means that we'll basically need the quantity, okay, and the price, so that we can do the multiplication. So let's see if we have that information. We have the product, we have the quantity here. Okay, so we have the quantity, but we don't have price. Okay, so what do we do? Where do we find the price? Let's go to the products. So we see that the price is stuck on the product table. So we need to find a way to bring in the information from this into the sales transactions table. All right. So that if I see, let's say, the SKU, which is right here, this SKU, if I look for this Control F, Control V, and I find, so if I do the matching, then it means that this particular product price is 376. So I should see 376 here. All right, so that's what we are going to do. And we have a series of functions in Excel called lookup functions. And the popular one that people have heard of is the VLOOKUP. But then I don't use VLOOKUP. I use XLOOKUP, which is a better function than the VLOOKUP. So we'll just go ahead and write the formula. Before that, there's a practice I like to do. I like to convert all my data to tables. So if you watch here, all right, if I select anywhere, you don't see any extra tab. So it means that this is a range. Another range, another range. So I would want to convert all of them into what we call Excel tables. So Control A, and then Control T is a shortcut to convert to table. What happened? Control T. Okay. So my table has headers, which is true. All right. And now I see at the top here, I have another tab called Table Design. All right. I click out, it goes missing. I click back, it's there. So let's do the same for the other ones. Good. So Control A, Control T. And then the last one, Control T. Okay. And once you do that, let me lock this. Once you do that, you see that the table has a name. So table 1, table 2, table 3. Now, these names are not very useful. And when you start to build something that's a bit complex, all right, it's best practice for you to start naming all these tables ahead of time. So I'll give this a name. And by convention, I do TBL for table. So TBL underscore sales. All right. Or let me make it, yes, sales transactions. I think that's long. Let's make it sales. That's fine. And then we are going to rename this to, let's make this TBL underscore customers. And then we can call this TBL underscore product. So I'll do PDT as product. So what it means is that if I do something like TBL, you see that the names are now showing in Excel. I could do TBL underscore sales. That's a lot of information. Let me do the customers rather. So TBL customers, and it gives me all that information. So that information is now saved as a variable, all right, or it's stored in a container in Excel. So let me get rid of this. Okay, so back to our revenue issue. So let's put price here. That's what we are trying to look for. So we write XLOOKUP. Now the XLOOKUP function, let me clear this so it doesn't confuse anyone. So XLOOKUP. So the XLOOKUP function takes at least 3 compulsory arguments, all right? And in Excel, you tell an argument is compulsory or optional based on the square bracket. So anything you see in square bracket here means that even if I don't provide that to Excel, the formula should still work. All right, so lookup value, what am I looking for? I'm looking for this product, which is the SKU column. So this product is what I'm looking for. All right, let me write the function here. Lookup array, where do I find this product? We know that it is in the products table. So I can come here and then write, just left click by hovering on this SKU, all right? Not on the A, on the SKU. So it gives me TBO products SKU. And the return array is the amount or the price. So I return this. Now the other option is if not found, what do I do? In this case, I don't want to do anything. So I will skip over that argument with a comma. And then the match mode, I want an exact match so that Excel will look for, let's say, AN201 red M. It will look for exactly that to make a match. I can also do what do you call it? An approximate match, but that usually gives us some problems. There's a use case for that, which I will not be covering here. So let's stick with exact match, which is 0. And then search mode, I can also skip that. So I'll close the bracket here, press enter, and I have this. So let's confirm a few ones. Let's pick at random. Let's take, let me think this. Okay, that's already bold. So let's take this set 333. Come here, Control F, Control V, and find. And the price is 976. So let's go back and confirm 976. So that is correct, which means that my price is now correctly pulled in. Okay, so that information was already here, no problem. Let me just delete it. So delete, because I'm trying to make us practice a bit. And okay, so the information which is 976, okay, that's here. So it means our function is working correctly. Okay, so do we have the elements we need to calculate our total revenue? Let's see. We have the price, but we still need the subtotal. All right, so let's subtotal, or let's make a revenue in this case. So revenue from that particular sale. So we'll just do a simple multiplication of the quantity and the price. So I'll select one of this multiplied by the price. All right. And if you're seeing these names, it's because I'm using an Excel table. So with Excel table, the @ sign is telling us that I'm looking at the current row. Okay. And in the quantity column of the current row, the same for current row for the price. Okay. So I'll press enter and the formula automatically populates because it's a table. That's one of the nice things about Excel tables. All right, so let's see. We have our revenue. So I think we can pull in our total revenue now. So you have two options. We can do like what do you call it? We can do something like sum, and we'll select this entire thing. Okay, and it gives us the total. But we are going to use pivot tables for this. So to insert a pivot table, you click on anywhere within the data set that you want to analyze, and then under the insert tab, you go to pivot table, and then from table or range. Now do that's the table is TBL sales. Where do I want to insert the table? I think I want a new worksheet. All right, so new worksheet. This option, add this to data model, is something that is useful, but we will not cover this in this webinar because that would take a long time to explain. So we just use the regular pivot table. All right. So new worksheet, and the first thing you see when you start to work with pivot tables is this blank thing. So you see pivot table 1, there's nothing else on the sheets, and you might get confused. And one thing is this settings button. Normally what people see is this this arrangement. All right. I think from experience, I prefer to have my pivot table fields look like this. All right. Hold on. That didn't work. Okay. So that's it. Let's see. Can I increase the size of this? Not really. Okay. That's fine. I hope you can see the table part. So we are looking for revenue. Now let me explain a few things about pivot table. So it has 4 different fields: the filter, the rows, the columns, and the values. So I'll pull in one thing into rows and then the same thing into columns just to explain the difference. So if I put status into rows, for example, then it means that the elements in the status column, which is when you come back to sales transactions, status, we have 4 items: cancelled, delivered, refunded, and then returned. So those are the items that will be listed here. Let me rename this to pivots so that I can actually find it. Pivots. Let me change the color to red. Okay. And then if I pull the same information into rows, into columns, then it would be lined up this way. So that's just the basic difference between the rows field and the column field. And mostly you want the information this way. All right, so we'll keep it in rows. And then let's say that we want to look at the revenue per status. So I'll drag revenue into value. So for any calculation you would like to make, the calculation would always go into the values field. All right, so once I drag this, it means that the cancelled revenue, all right, was this amount. The transactions that went through or were delivered is this amount. So you see how easy it was to just summarize all this information. And if you wanted to write this with a function, then you have to do a lot of sum ifs or sum product or some advanced sum functions. All right, so this is very useful. So any calculation you want to make is in the values field. Now, if you want to count something, it will still come in the values field. All right. So if the field you have here, for example, if I'm looking at what do you call it? Revenue, because revenue is a numerical field, the default behavior in the values field will be that it will sum it. If I bring in a text field, let's say that what's a text field? I think something like the customer ID. That should be a text field. Let's see, customer ID. No, that's a number. Let's bring in the SKU. All right, that's a text. So we go to the SKU, we pull it to the values. Because it's a text, you see that it's giving us a count of that. So that's one thing you should note. The default behavior for text is counting. The default behavior for numbers is sum. That's in pivot tables. All right. So we don't want the breakdown, we just want the value. So let me drag everything out and then start again. So we are looking for the revenue. So revenue, I'll drag that into values, and that gives me this amount. Okay, so this is the total revenue for the whole table. We can confirm that with the sum function. So let's do that quickly just to make sure that our pivot table is working as it should. So sum of all these, let's see, we get 27. Let me add the comma. So that's 27 million. All right, let's see on the pivot table. Also 27 million. So our pivot table is working. So you can achieve the same results either with a pivot table or with a function. But then because we know that the end goal is to build this dashboard, all right, we are using pivot tables because it comes with certain functionalities that make building these charts very easy and dynamic. Okay, so let me pull this off again. We'll come back to it. So we can name this total revenue. Total revenue. Now let's look at the next question. Total revenue by month. All right, so we want to break this down by month. Excuse me. So we can just do something simple. Let me rename this pivot table. All right. And I like to rename things because it's easy for me to reference them later on. So I'll make this PT. So you notice for tables, I did TBL. That's just my naming convention. For pivot tables, I do PT underscore, and then I can make this revenue. Okay, so we have another way of creating pivot tables. The first one, we came here and then we did insert. Now, instead of that, where am I? Okay, so instead of that, I can just duplicate this pivot table. Okay, Control C, and then let me paste it somewhere here. All right, and then I can pull off this information, for example. All right, and I have the same blank slate again, and we want to see the total revenue by month. All right, so if you guess correctly, the month is going to go into the rows, but do we even have the month? That is the question. So if you go back to our data, let's see if we have the month information. There's date here, which is okay. Let's see. There's no month, so we have to create the month column. All right, or we have a better approach. So we can just do something like month. Let me clear this month, and then if we want to extract the month, all right, we can do something like equals text, and then we want to bring the date. This okay, and then we want to format it as month. So MMM, like this. Okay, so this pulls in the month. Let's confirm. So this is December 12. Okay, let's see something else. Okay, this is 2, so that should be February, I guess. So February, okay, that's it. February, that's it. So this one. Okay, and I've done some grouping here, so I can easily hide the ones that I don't need. So just to make the table look a bit cleaner for all of us. Okay, so we've pulled in the month like this. All right, the other alternative, which I would prefer, so let me delete this one, is in pivot tables, because you already have a date field. All right, and we can attempt to drag the date into rows like this. And what Excel does for us is that it gives us more information about the date. So now we get additional days and month, but you see that they have a month into bracket date, days into bracket date. So it means that this information is not coming from your table. It is coming from something that pivot table has intelligently done. All right, so I can drag my date out. I don't like it. Days, I don't need that. So what I'm interested in is the month. So Excel does a nice job aggregating this information for me without any extra work on my side, which is very interesting. And we can use a sum if function to confirm this information, but I would not do that. So let's see what else we need. We have this information, and we can name this as well, total revenue. Okay, so it's revenue by month, and let's rename this pivot table. So PT, let's call it revenue by month. Okay, let's see the other information. Then we need the revenue by status. All right. Now for that, we can build a similar table like this. All right. But I'll show you another option. We can build a similar table just like this one. Take off the months and then bring in the status to rows. All right. And we get that information. Now, if I'm not going to visualize this per se, because if you look at our final, or let me say our end goal, which is this one right here, we don't exactly have a chart for what do you call it, for the revenue by status. Okay, and that is one of the nice things about pivot tables, because instead of building charts for every single thing, we can use slices or filters to sort of let's say focus a bit on our data. All right, so let's see. So instead of having this information, all right, which I'll keep here for now, I'll add a slicer or a filter. Okay, so let's see. We have this filter option here. So let's add the status, for example, to filter. So add to report filter. And when I select cancelled, it gives me 622, and the same value is here. If I do delivered, then it's filtered the data for the same information. So I could either use the filter to slide the information to see it, or if I want to see everything at once, then I would use this pivot table. In my case, I don't have a chart for this, so I would not use this. We'll go with a filter. All right. Now, this filter can be a bit difficult to work with, so I'll show you a different one. That is a slicer. So this time, instead of putting it in the filters, I'll drag this out and then right click on status and then add it as a slicer. All right, so what it means is that I can click on this information and it filters the data. So which is one of the key things when it comes to creating dashboards. Because if you see here, it's the same slicer we have. All right, so this is what makes the pivot table interactive. So let me drag this back. At least we see what the end goal is. All right. Now, I think that it would be very nice if the moment I click here, the information is also being filtered. All right. Because currently, this filter is only applying to our total revenue, which is fine. So if I cancel everything here, we get the total. If I filter for returned, we get, I can hold down on the control key and select multiple fields. All right. And that gives me these three. Okay. So the task we have here is to connect this pivot slicer to this. Currently, it's only connected to the first one. So how do we do that? Before that, as usual, I'll rename my slicer as well. So this is called status. I'll do SL underscore status. Okay, 1 second. Okay. So let me show you. you right click on this slicer and go to report connections. And you see that currently the slicer, this particular one, is only connected to the revenue. And that's why I mentioned that we should label our pivot tables, because if not, we would have seen pivot table 1, pivot table 2, which doesn't make any sense to anybody. So we can easily select this. And then if I click OK and select this one now, this table is also being filtered, which is a very nice thing to have. Okay. The next thing I want us to do going forward is there's a behavior in pivot tables that I don't really like. Okay, let me show you. I right click and then go to pivot table options. And if I should stretch this, let's say all the way here, and then I click on you see that the table shrinks, right, to accommodate the value, which I don't like. If I stretch this to this place, if I filter my data, I want it to stay the same. Currently, it's not behaving like that. So right click on this pivot table, go to pivot table options, and then right here, auto fit column widths on update. I'll uncheck that. So now when I think I have to do the same for this. And doing this upfront makes sense to me, because if I wait to build all the pivot tables, then the problem is that I have to go through one by one and then do the same settings. But because I know I need this, I'll do for the first two I've already done, and then just copy this pivot table to create the other ones, and the properties copied with it. All right, so let's see if I stretch to this point and then I change this. The width is being maintained, which is what I want. All right, so let me just drag this to here. I think right here is okay for me. Yeah, okay, that works. Okay, so let's see. We have our total revenue. We have our total revenue by month, which is shown here. We also have our total revenue by status. All right. The reason is we can filter this total revenue by status here. So it gives us that information without building a whole table just for that. The next one is total revenue by channel. So for the channel 2, we will insert a slicer. Okay. So let's do the same. Let's click on this one. Come to status. No, so right click and add as a slicer. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant channel. So channel, add as a slicer. Okay. And let me take off this filter and then we apply just this. Okay, so this is working nicely. Okay, it's filtering the revenue. I also want it to filter this pivot table. So like we did before, we right click on this one, slicer settings, oops, sorry, report connections, and then we select pivot table revenue by month, which is this table. So now this becomes dynamic as well. Okay, so we are getting somewhere. Let's see the next. So we've answered these two questions. Now let's see B2B sales versus B2C sales. Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, we have the B2B column here. So let's make a pivot table out of it, see how it looks like, and see if we like it or not, and if there's any customizations we want to make. So like I did before, I just copy this table. Before that, let me drag this here a bit. I think I can paste it somewhere. Where can I paste it? I think yes, not bad. So I'll do this. Okay, and we'll drag the month of. Okay, let me just click, and then I want to see by B2C, B2C, B2C. Okay, so rows. Now we see false and true. All right, and I mean we understand from our data. So the true is the B2B, the false is B2C. All right, but I think it would be nice to have a different label for this, where false is labeled as B2C and true is labeled as B2B. So we'll just have to make a little tweak on our table. So we can call this, let's see, what can we call this? We can call this, let's see, customer type. So customer type. All right. And then write a very simple if function. All right. So let's say that if this one. So normally for logical test, all right, for something that will result in true or false, what you will do is if this value is equal to true, all right, they want to call it B to B. If it is false, they want to call it B to C. Okay. Close it. All right. So all the falses will now be B to C. And then the true values, let's filter and see, will now be B to B. Okay. So that works. But just a little change to this formula. All right. It doesn't really spoil anything if you write it this way. But because the value is already a logical result, all right, true or false, I don't need this extra true here. All right. I'm not sure I can explain all the details in this webinar, but just know that because this is already false and the other result is true, I don't have to rewrite the true here. I can just take it off, make my formula a bit simpler. All right. But the result is still the same. So we come back to our pivot table. We are looking for customer type. Okay, that's not showing. So let's do something. Let's come up here, data, and then we have to refresh the data. All right, refresh. Okay, now let's go back to our pivot table and see. Okay, so we have customer type showing here. So I'll drag this B2B off and instead use the customer type, which is more reader friendly. Okay. Is this connected to the pivot table? Yes. So it's connected to the pivot table because I created this pivot table from an existing one. Okay. So for me, I think it's better for you to create one pivot table, create the slices that you would use, and then duplicate that pivot table so you don't do the same work over and over and over again. So let me see. This is working. This is also working. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so let's see. We've done our B2B sales. Let's do this one and then we'll start building our dashboards. Then once we have something to look at, we'll come and tackle these three. Okay, so we're looking at number of orders by month, status, and channel. So similar to what we have here. So that means that we can basically come back. I think I'll just copy this, paste it here. Okay, and this, we want to name it as number of orders. Okay, and want to, instead of the revenue, we want to, okay, so instead of the revenue, we want to count the number of orders. So I can use the order ID. All right, so order ID, drag it here, and then I can drag this off. Now you notice a behavior. Let me undo. I was trying to take this off. Okay, but I got an error because this pivot table, the outline of the pivot table by default is going to affect this other one. So Excel is giving me a warning. So I would rather bring in the order ID. And then once I have something that locks the pivot table, I can drag this one outside. So let's see. Number of orders is the count of ID. So I'll drag this one off because that information initially was the revenue. So let's see if I filter, everything works. Let me clear the filter. Okay, so I think everything is coming out nicely. So let's check the names of our pivot tables before we start building our dashboard. So revenue table, this is pivot table 5. That's a red flag. So we name this order count. So let's name this number of orders. Okay. This is called revenue by month. This is called pivot table 4. So I think we want to do ET underscore revenue by, I think, customer type. All right. So I think we've labeled our pivot tables nicely. So excuse me. So let's start to build our pivot table. All right. So I mean our dashboard. So we have something to look at with what we've done so far, and then we flesh it out with the remaining information here. Okay. So how do we build the dashboard? Not too difficult. Before that, let me just hide these grid lines. All right. I don't like to see lines in my reports. Okay. So hide them. Okay. So I'll add a new sheet and call this dashboard. And the first thing that I do with dashboards is that, like I did, grid lines should be out. So I have a blank canvas that makes me now think like a designer. Okay. And I'm not the best at making designs. You could say that this design is nice, all right, but I always take inspiration from somewhere. If you struggle with designs like me, you can follow my path. Okay, so let's see. What did I do? I think yes. So I was just surfing online and came across this website, this site. So I was just like combing around. So let me show you what I do. I go on Google, look for let's say dashboard UI, something like this. So dashboard UI. And I'll come to images and then begin to look through. All right. So if something stands out to me, or let's say depicts a part of what I'm trying to build, then that will now be my starting template. All right. So let's see. In my case, I came across this article, and then I think I chose the fourth one. Let's see. Wasn't this? It wasn't this. It wasn't this. Okay, so I saw this. I was like, okay, that's a nice implementation. I see one shape here, another shape down here. That gives it a nice visual hierarchy. All right, so I thought this was nice. So whatever you are seeing here took inspiration from whatever you are seeing on this one took inspiration from this. Not exactly the same, but you get the point. It's an inspiration. Okay, so I'll take this back so we can focus on what we're doing. Okay, so the first thing is we want to put a title like sales performance dashboard. So how do we do that? You may be tempted to type in, let's say, sales performance dashboard. On a dashboard, I typically don't type my things into cells. All right, so I'll delete this. We will insert a text box. All right, so text box like this, and then let's write sales performance. Excuse me, dashboard like so, and then let me give it a font color. So something that's, let me not miss this. So page layout, I've already set a theme, all right, for whatever I'm doing. So Isaac default, I think this one, all right, just so that I have a consistent color, all right, a consistent color scheme. So that's why when I come, let's say I select this and I come to the colors here, the colors I'm seeing is in a particular color palette, or let's say color range. All right, so very similar colors. All right, just so that my things are not all over the place. So I'll choose any of these. I think this is fine. Bold. Is this Calibri? I don't think I like that. So let me go back to page layouts. Check for fonts. I wanted Open Sans. Okay. Then let's increase the font size. So I'm just doing Control Shift and the arrow key. So you can see the shortcuts on my screen. So this is all right. Place it right here. And this is easier for me because I can easily drag this anywhere I want, compared to if it's in a cell, then I would have to cut and paste and all that. I don't like that kind of workflow. So I'll stick with this. And then let's make a few changes. Remove the border. So shape outline, no outline. And then let's fill this whole page with a light gray. All right, that's how I built it. So I'll do Control A and then change the fill color of the whole page to this light gray. All right. So it's not white, it's a bit off white. So I want this thing to not be white. So I need to remove the background color from this as well. So shape format, the shape fill, I can choose any color, but I'll choose no fill so that it picks the color of the background. And just make this like this. And let's do something little. Okay, so I think this is fine for me. I'll drag it up here. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to insert this part, all right, this shape. So let's see how to do that. We'll come to insert, let's insert a shape rectangle. That's fine. So I can draw the shape out to wherever I want. I think I'll stop at T. That's okay. Okay, and then on the color, so I don't like the shape outline, so I usually say no outline. The color, let's do Control-1, bring up this this format shape dialog box, and then I'll choose a gradient fill just so that it's a bit stylish for me. All right, not too much, but just the right amount of stylish. Okay, and let's see what we got. Okay, so I think that we can start to build our dashboards from this. All right, let's maintain this. If we need any level of complexity, we'll introduce it as we go. So the first thing we want to bring back to our pivot tables is total revenue. All right, so sorry, pivot table. So let me bring the dashboard first. And then pivot table is here. So we want to bring this total revenue to show up on the dashboard. Now, how do we do that? So simply, we can insert another shape. So let me just copy this and paste. All right. And then let's be here for now. So I can do something like equals. All right. If I come here and I select this, I get an error. All right. And let me show you what I'm trying to do. So let's say if I have, let's say 20,000 over here. If I select this shape and then come to the formula bar and type equal to 20,000, it should pick that value for me. So if I apply this formatting, like so, and I change this value to, let's say, 40,000, then this becomes dynamic. So you get the point. So I can make the font size, the font color white for this one, and then drag it here. So the thing I'm trying to do is I want to connect this this text box to this. Now, it's unfortunate. Excel doesn't give us a straightforward way to do something like this. So we have to use a workaround. So I would usually create another sheet called calculations. All right. I don't need to do that, but it just separates everything out nicely for me. And I'll write total revenue here. Total revenue. And then equate this to this. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to connect this to this, but I can't make that direct connection. So I'll make that indirect connection to a normal cell and then connect the normal cell to a text box. So a text box can connect to a normal cell, but not a pivot table cell. So that's why I'm going this route. Okay. So we can come here and then instead of this one, all right, equals, and then come to this tab and then choose this value. Okay. And the formatting is gone. Let me reapply it. Okay, let me change it to white. Okay. Let's format this as a currency. So Control-1, we come to currency, and then I don't want any decimal place. So 0. Tap. Okay, and then let's see. All right. Do we need a bit of space? I think I would like a bit of space over there. So Control-1 when we come here, and then I'll use a custom formatting, right, just to put a space. Maybe 2. 1 is okay. Okay, that's better. All right, cool. So let me shrink this a bit. Okay, so now that we get the concept, we can replicate the same thing for the total number of orders. So pivot table, number of orders, which is this one. Let me first clear the filters. So number of orders, we do the same thing. So Control C, Control V. Oh, no, sorry, equals this value. All right, and then we can make this number of orders. I think someone is speaking into the meeting. Can you help the rest of the team, please? Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll copy this formatting and then paste it here. So that's quick. No, that's wrong because this is not currency. I need to be careful. So I'll just reduce the number of decimal places. Okay, and then what did I do wrong? Okay, I think I undid something. Calculations B2, let's see. Okay, it's just the width, so that's fine. It's the width. Okay, cool. So let's duplicate this. Control C, Control V, so we don't reinvent the wheel. And then we come here, equals pivot table, nope, calculations, because we cannot directly link a text box to a pivot value. And then I would take this, the formatting, and paste it. Okay, so we have our two values. Let's bring in our slices. Okay, so slices, let's copy this and this. Control X, Control V. All right, so we have our slices here. We can paste this here, for example, and this can come below that. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me remove this, bring it up a bit. Okay, all right, I think this looks okay to me. All right, so it means that the two values you are seeing here are now fully dynamic. All right, so I think it will be helpful to have some labels. So I would I'll do it a bit faster. I mean, we've seen the concepts already, so I'll just copy and paste them here. So total revenue, Control V for the, what do you call it? The number of orders. So I'll just change this to number of orders. Okay, so this is more meaningful. And then I can insert an icon. So to do that, I would come to insert and then icons. All right, so I can search for something like a money icon. Okay, so I think some of our accountants on the call are asking me to add the decimals. All right. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that shortly. Hold on. So we can look for like a money icon, for example. Let's see, maybe this, and then insert. Okay, so you can insert this right here. I think it's too big. We can reduce it. Don't move away from me. Okay, so somewhere right here is okay. Then we can change the color. So graphics format, we can change the graphics fill to white just to balance out. So I think this is looking okay. And then we've seen the concept, so I'll just copy this over from here and paste it here. All right. Let me drop it a bit. Okay, so I just want to align these values a little better. So see, all right, move this up a bit. I think it's okay like this. And they said they need the decimal, so let me bring that back for this. Okay, so okay, let me Control 1. So hold on. Let's see, 2 decimal places. Then we come to custom. And then let's add my space back. Okay, all right. So what does The value look perfect to me. No, it looks too perfect. There's some, so I need to fix the zero parts. All right, so let me see. Pivot table. So I think the issue is coming from here. These values look too rounded. Okay, so we'll figure that out later. All right, let's just try and focus on what you're doing. Okay. So you have our revenue, you have this, let's see. And then I think we've also solved this part, which is the revenue by month, status, and channel. Okay, so now, okay, I think no, revenue by month, we don't have that as a chart yet. So let's come back here, and then we will now insert a pivot chart. So you come to insert, and then right here, you see pivot chart. Pivot chart. Okay, so we can choose this. Okay, so before I do any modifications, let me grab this out and then bring it to the dashboard. And for the design I showed you earlier, we want it all. All right, so it's somewhere here, right about here and here. All right, now if you look at this and look at this, like there's a stack difference. So we'll try and then get close to what I have down here. Okay, so let's see. We're getting somewhere. The first thing is I don't like these filters on the pivot charts. All right, so I'll turn them off. So I'll come to pivot table analyze, and then the field buttons, I'll turn them off. That's the first thing. I'll take off these grid lines. All right, I hardly use them. Total. Let's save that one that time. And now I need to make this chart transparent so that we can see the green background. Okay, so let's see how to do that. Let me just do Control-1. And the fill color, no fill. So that's the only change I'll make. And then we can change the fill color of the bars to white. And then this, no, I mean the font color for this white, bold, white, and bold. All right, okay, let's keep this like this. And then I think that it would be nice. Okay, so let me show you. These values are too huge, all right, to show up on the left like this. And because the bars and the space I have is like very small, I can't put these ones on the columns too. So a workaround it will be to change the unit. All right, so I'll select the unit here. All right, that's this part. Control-1, and then the display unit, I will change it to, let's say, maybe, should I make it thousands? Let's see, thousands. Okay, that's not too bad. I think we can manage with that. All right, I'll change the fill of this to white. Okay, I think that's okay. And then if the spaces between the bars are too big for you, we can just select them, Control-1, and then we can change the column, I mean the gap width. All right, so if you drop the gap width, then we are getting close to what you want. All right, so let me make it, let's say 90. Okay. All right, cool. And this border is always a pain. So let me take that off. So shape format, shape outline, nothing. Okay, so I think this looks quite close to what we had. Okay, so let's see. So you have this, we have this now. We also have this part. So we have the B2B sales versus B2C. So for that, I would want a pie chart or a donut chart. All right, basically the same concept. So I'll come back to pivot tables, and then this is the pivot table I want to use for that chart. So select this, go to insert pivot chart. All right, then let's select the pie charts, and I'll choose a different variation of the pie chart, which is the donut chart, this one. All right, I don't know, but for some reason I don't really like pie charts. I prefer this variation of it. So I mean, it's a personal preference, nothing against it. So I'll clear this. I'll take off the field buttons as usual. Well, now when it comes to data labels, I usually prefer data labels to be on the item itself, if possible. So I'll take it off here and then add a data label like this. All right, and let's bring out more options for this. So let's see, what do we want? We want label options, text options. Hold on. So we want the category name, so B2B, to show up, and then we also want the value. Now with the value, I want to format them as a percentage, so I'll change the value to percentage here. All right, and then just drag this outside a bit. Drag this outside. This is just like purely design stuff, all right? And I think I want to expand this. So instead of the separator, so because the separator is a new line, all right, even if I expand this, it will keep showing on a new line. So instead, I want it to maybe be a comma. So comma, same for this comma. Oops, sorry. So comma. Okay, cool. And then let's take all of this and send it to the dashboard page. All right. And I wanted it somewhere here. Okay, so Control V. Seems we have a number of things to fix on this one. All right, so let's fix the size first. So the first thing is we want the background to be transparent as well. All right, so the same thing we've done before, nothing new. So format, shape fill, no fill, shape outline, no outline. And I think we can format this to be white, make it a bit bold. We can drag this chart to the left, just a little to give room for these. Okay, so let's see. I want to expand this a bit. Okay, and then expand this a bit. Let's see, drag this a bit. Okay, maybe I should just expand the charts just a little. Hold on. Just a little problem. These things can be very funny. Okay, anyway, let's. Okay, I mean it's okay. So Control 1. Let's see if it's still a comma. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's leave it for now. And now I don't like this white outline. I don't know. So we just change everything to white. All right. So format the outline. I'll leave it as none. Okay. So this is better, but I'll change the colors. So I'll change the large one to white. Okay. So just select that one. Double click. Fill is white. Where did I go? Fill for this is white. Okay, not sure what's going on there. 1 second. No, let me drag this out and then try to see well. Control 1. The color for this is let's keep that. And then for this, okay, let's see. Red. Okay, so now we can select white. Okay, better. Now let me bring it back. Okay. Okay, all right, so this is not looking bad. So let's see if our filters are still working. All right, that's a very important part. Okay, so it's dynamic, and we just give a small little visual separation. Okay, so I already have that, so I'll just copy and paste them. Where did I paste? Okay, so let's see, Control C, Control V. You know what? Let me just insert my own thing. So insert a shape, a line, and then I would hold the Shift key for that and make the line a bit white. So shape outline, maybe off white. Then I'll put it right here. Control C, Control V for another one, and then put it right in. Then let me align these lines and these lines, all right, and the shape itself, so this one. So align middle. Okay. All right. So this gives a nice visual separation. Okay, so this is part one. All right. The rest is basically similar to everything we've done so far. And we wanted to also, I think there was a B2C something. Okay, so B2B versus B2C. So if we like, all right, we can also add another slicer for B2C, B2B. Depends on how you want to think about the data, but you get the whole point of building a dashboard. It's not so complicated. All right. So let's insert a chart for, let's do this first. The sales by sizes, all right, which will be similar to this. So revenue by month, revenue by sizes, same concept. So let's do that. So copy this, paste it here, rename the table, revenue by size. All right. And then we obviously, okay, so I can't see the field list. So I can come here, field list, or right click and then show field list. So let's see revenue by size. So I'll drag the month out. Where are my sizes? Okay. So I actually don't have the size, do I? Let's see. Sales transactions. So we don't have size anywhere. Yep. We don't have size anywhere, which means that this is an information we need to extract. Okay, so we can do that. So size. All right. Now the thing is that for this particular information or the data, come again.
It's hidden.
It's hidden. Okay, let me see.
We hid some of the columns.
Okay, so let's start. A is index, B is order ID, customer ID, date, status, channel, SKU, quantity, ship city, ship state, ship postal code, L, something, B. Okay, let's change all of this to GT like we did in the beginning. All right, just to have a standard. B2B, price, revenue, customer type. No, so we don't have the size from this table. We don't have it. All right. So we need to like extract that. All right. Now this is a bit tricky to pull off generally. All right. It's because if you check the, what do you call it? The sizes here. All right. The sizes are at the very end. So XXL, L, S, M. And because they are not of the same size, you cannot use something like the right function. So if you do right, for example, all right, you have to specify the text, which is, let me close this. You're distracting. Okay. So if you did right function, for example, in an attempt to pull that information from the right side, you run into a problem because it's asking you for a number of characters, which in this case is 3 for the first one. All right, but it's not 3 throughout. So because of time, I will not be able to explain the whole formula. All right. But then there's a function in Excel called the let function. Now it doesn't extract anything, it just makes the formula more sensible. Okay, so let's, I think I should write it here for more space. So let is like one of the new functions in Excel that lets you, very interesting, that lets you define a variable. So if you're coming from, let's say, a programming language, let's say Python or any of those things, it's easy for you to wrap your head around something like this, all right? Because you are creating a variable. So the first thing I want you to do is I want to split all of this. So based on the delimiter, all right? So Control Enter, let me give some space. And then I'll name the splitting. So when I split the whole thing here, it will give me 4 items. All right, so give me 4 items, and I want to store that 4 items as parts. Okay, so I'll do a text split. That is actually the function I'm using. So text split. What am I splitting? I'm splitting this text. All right, and the next argument is the column delimiter. So what am I splitting it on? I'm splitting it based on the dash or the hyphen. So anywhere I see a hyphen, I should split the text. All right. The row delimiter is optional. Ignore all these are optional. So I'll just leave them as is. So once you see this, so forget about the let part. I'm basically splitting the text and saving all the split as parts. Now, when the thing is split, I want to extract the last part. All right. So let's create another variable called last parts. Last parts. Maybe I should just use standard notation. So last part like this. And then I want to fetch the very last item in the list. And so I can use the index function to fetch the last item in the list. All right. So index of what? So index of the parts, what I already split. And to get the row number, okay, I need to, is it row or column number? Let me see. So row number, I think, should be 1. All right, because everything is on the same row. And then the column number, I would use a count A parts, and then close this. All right, and then I still have another bracket to close, so let me close that as well. All right, so let's end everything here and see. We've entered too few arguments. 1 second, let me try to fix this. So let's see. Name and value. Okay, wait, there's a problem with this. So count A, hold on, let me see. Let me try the count A this way. Parts, then close the brackets. Okay, there's still a problem. So let me diagnose it first. So parts, we have text splits. All right. And the last part, we have index of the parts. And then we are, okay, so let me place my step back. So last part, we are saying index of the array is the parts. All right. The row number is 1 because it's all on one row. The column number as we have it is 4. All right, or let me say the last part. So we don't know that we want to do that dynamically. So count A, and we are counting A of the parts we have here. So close the index, the count A, close the index. Is there anything else to close? No. Okay, so I'm having an error. So I'll go ask for help. So let me go to ChatGPT. So let's see. For privacy, let me just open that first. What's this? Once again, it's loading up. Oh my goodness. Taking a while. Okay, so that's in. Okay, so let me. So I'm getting too few arguments. All right, let's see. Excuse me. Okay, this is taking time. So whilst it's taking time, let me still try and then diagnose it. Oh, right. So I get it. So like this here may not make make sense, right? But the moment I saw it, I knew what I was looking for. Because the let mixes define variables, I've only defined the variable without returning it. So I need to return what I'm looking for. So that is the last part. All right. So I need to return this value. So last part. All right. So let me see. Okay. So excuse me. So that works. All right. Now there's something else we need to figure out is that we have our standard sizes, all right. Okay. For Excel, blah, 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 blah. But they also have some which are not standard sizes. So what the documentation said was for anything that is not a standard size, let's say XS, XM, large, XL, all of those things, then we want to label those ones as free. Okay. So what I did was let me create a table here. All right. So I'll call this standard sizes. All right. And then I'll define those sizes. So let me just do a unique just to bring those values in. Where are my transactions? So the size, all right, close it, enter, and we have all these. So I would, excuse me. So Control Shift down, C, and then I'll paste them as values. Okay. Then I can get rid of this. Let me drag this here. And in a second, you understand what I'm doing. So let me get rid of all these non-standard sizes. All right. Because they'll all be labeled free eventually. So non-standard sizes be these ones. Okay. So let me just quickly do this. So delete, shift cells up. Delete, shift cells up. And this one, delete, shift cells up. Okay. And then I want to be able to rearrange them. All right. So like typically the XS should be the first. I think followed by S. All right, followed by medium, then you have large, then you have XL. Then let's see, there's XXL, there's 2XL. 3XL is written as XXXL. Then there's 4XL, there's 5XL. So there's like a bit of data prepping. All right, 6XL. I think there was XXL1. So that should come after XXL. Okay, so XXL1. All right, so we have about 10 minutes. We'll try and do this fast, but I think this is a very important concept to grasp. Okay, let's see. Standard size. Okay, right here. And I want to add like a ranking, all right, so that because Excel doesn't understand that XX is the smallest, all right, so I need to add a ranking just to help Excel a bit. So 1, 2, then I'll drag down. Okay, then now let me convert this to a table. Let me cut this, bring it up. I don't like the position currently. So V, Control T, and then I'll label this standard sizes. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is this. All right, maybe I should bring this to the table, close to the table here, so that it's easy to visualize it. Okay, so I'm going to look inside this list. All right, so for each of these items, if I look and then it doesn't exist, I'll return free. If it exists, then I'll leave it as such. All right, and so I'm going to still use the let function. So I'll delete this part because I'm not returning the last part yet. So I'm going to say that if it's num, all right, and let me do a match. match, let's say, I'm going to look for the last part. All right, so the last part, like we've already defined. So we are looking for the last part where in this lookup array, which is everything here. So here, all right. So we are looking for that in this table. Standard size is all of that, and we want an exact match. So 0. We close it, and then we also close this number. So we are checking if when I do the match, so a match is going to return like a number, maybe 1, 2. It returns the position. So once it returns a position, I want to check if it is a number, because if it is not a number, then it will return an error. All right. So we want to check if what is being returned is a number. If it is a number, then I want to return that last part value. If not, then I want to return 3. Okay. So this might be a bit complex for you to wrap your head around, but don't worry. So let's see if this gives me. Okay, so let's check. Okay, very good. So now we have the free ones showing up. Very good. Let me undo. Okay, integrate, that's fine. Okay. So I could hide this if I wanted to. So we're trying to answer a particular question about the sales by sizes. All right. So now let's go to our pivot table, our pivot sheet, and then let's grab this one. We can paste it. Was I doing something with this information? Okay, I think so. So data, refresh, sizes here. So sales by size. Okay. Now the reason I added the ranking, right? Can I see it? I can't see the rank. Okay, so I want to tell Excel to, let's say, rank this one. So let's say the XS will start the graph and all that. So if I wanted to do that, I would have brought in the what do you call it? The rank using XLOOKUP right here. All right, and so that I can have that available in the pivot table. So that's one implementation. I mean, there are several ways of solving the same problem in Excel. So let me just go back to the pivot chart, the pivot sheets, insert a pivot chart. This will be our last chart. Let's see. So pivot chart. Insert pivot chart. All right, and let's choose this time a bar, just to have some variation. Well, I think column chart still works, so let's keep it. Column charts. We'll do the same things we've done before. So I will not explain that part. Turn off the fill buttons. The units are too big, so we can make them in thousands or something. Let's see, thousands. Okay, so that's fine. And then let's cut this, come to dashboard, and then let's paste it here, but not there. Oh, okay. So that's pasted over what I had initially. So I would let me about that. Okay, and then let's just resize this. Okay, so let's say that for this one we want this white background. So like this is the process you go through to build a dashboard. All right. In the interest of time, we may not be able to look at all the details. Okay, so I don't know if anyone has any question at this point. All right, but I'm sure you've picked a thing or two. Even if you were an advanced person, I'm sure you've seen one or two things. Now, this is a much simpler version of what I would build. All right, but this is, I mean, a very good starting point. And we have an Excel class that we organize. All right, that's Verken. So it's called Excel for Professionals. We have other courses coming up. All right, we'll have like Excel for data analyst. We have a course coming up which is just focused on pivot tables. All right, so we have a lot of things coming up. What we have coming up now is cohort 2. We just ended cohort 1, or let me say it's about ending, because they are working on their project, the capstone project now for review. All right, they'll be presenting that soon. So by 17th of June, we have the Excel for Professionals Cohort 2 starting. All right. So if any of this doesn't seem very clear to you, in that course, we take our time, we break everything down from first principles. So if you've never even seen Excel before, all right, you can still join that class. And if you've used Excel for a while and you don't feel really confident, that class would be of great benefit to you. So we'll look at that. I mean, it's real world, it's very practical. And one thing I like about the course is that even if, let's say, so for instance, when I see a lot of courses, what they do is that they go through the whole process so that when they are rebuilding or teaching the course, it's like it's flawless. For me, because I know that there's more than one problem to, I mean, more than one solution to a problem. I like to let my students know how I'm thinking on the spot. All right. All the thinking on the spot. So that you see the different scenarios playing on in my head. All right. That's what I do. That's what the other instructors would also do for you. I think I have someone from the current cohort who is on this call. I don't know. Let me check. Sally. Yes, Sally. Would you want to share
Yeah.
anything on your experience with the course so far?
Okay, so
Sorry for
oh,
catching you off guard, eh?
oh God.
So sorry.
Okay. Okay, so it's been an amazing experience. It has taught me the art of learning how to learn. Because first of all, I thought I knew Excel and I didn't really regard Excel, but then after this course or through this course, I've seen that Excel is a power course. Yeah, you shouldn't downplay Excel. And I've learned a lot. I continue learning new things every day and it amazes me. So if you really want to master Excel, I will urge you to join this course. It will really be beneficial to you. Thank you.
Oh
And
my God, Sally.
teacher is very amazing. He's so amazing. Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. All right, thank you, Sally, for the kind words. All right. So if you are interested in joining, you can simply take your phone and then scan the QR code. It will take you to the registration page for the course. We have an early bird discount. So if you register before, so is it 10th of June? The early bird discount.
Yes, it is. And also because you joined this session, you have like a discount, so exclusive discount because you attended the webinar. So if you're interested, I think you should join. Yes.
Yeah. Sure. So when you register, we'll check the database if you joined this call, all right, and then we'll give you a 10% discount. Or so is it 10% or it's more? I think it's 10.
It's 12%. It's
12%. Ish.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Because
So
But for normal people, it's 10% before 10th June.
oh, okay. All right, got it. All right. Thank you so much.